Chairman, shall I start with SB 107?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, colleagues. I want to thank the committee for working with us on SB 107, and we're happy to accept the committee amendments as outlined in the analysis.
Thank you, Mr. Weiner. That's very helpful.
Colleagues, today, I just have to acknowledge the bigger picture as we just finished, at least in San Francisco and some other cities, Pride weekend, and we saw what happened on Friday with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and we see laws being passed around the country to try to take our LGBTQ community back to the bad old days when our community was criminalized, when our community was told that we needed to be invisible, where our community was subjected to various forms of violence. And although in the last number of decades, we certainly have not solved all of these problems, we've been making steady progress in a positive direction. Unfortunately, we're now at severe risk of sliding back, and we are seeing more and more brazen attacks, political and otherwise, on our community. Politicians who feel liberated to say just some of the most horrific things about members of our community, and it's been a broad-based attack, and it's very dangerous. And so I want to just say that in terms of the context in which we introduced this bill. I had not intended at the beginning of this year to introduce this bill. We did it as a gut and amend. And that was not because we delayed, but because I don't think any one of us envisioned what states like Texas and Alabama and other states are doing in terms of brutal attacks on transgender children. And those attacks started. They had been happening in different contexts, but they accelerated in the spring of this year, and we decided that we had to act, and that's why we put SB 107 into print. These attacks are essentially saying that if parents allow their trans children to receive gender-affirming health care that is within the standard of care as determined by the medical profession, health care that has been proven to reduce rates of suicide and to lead to happier, healthier children who are transgender, that if they allow that gender-affirming care, that according to these states, they're committing quote-unquote child abuse. The child will be removed from the home, placed in foster care, the parents will be placed in prison, and the physician will be placed in prison for doing their job, for providing appropriate care. One can only imagine the message that if you are an LGBTQ child, if you're a trans child anywhere in this country, hearing from some of the most powerful politicians in this country that because of who you are, you're going into foster care and your parents are going to prison. And is it any wonder why these kids have higher rates of suicide and self-harm? Is it any wonder why these kids have higher rates of homelessness? We want parents to embrace and accept and lift up their LGBTQ kids. And these parents who are just trying to do right by their kids and accepting their kids for who they are and supporting them are being told you're a criminal for doing that. It's disgusting, it's despicable, and California should have no part of that. And SB 107 ensures that California will have no part of those attacks on our children. The bill provides that law enforcement will not be party to arresting people and to effectuating these arrests of these kids, of their families, of physicians who come here fleeing these laws, these states. It provides that we will not honor subpoenas coming out of these states, whether it's for medical records or other records, in order to enforce these unconstitutional, despicable laws, and it provides that we will not, in our courts, enforce those laws. Mr. Chairman, again, I want to thank you and the committee. This is an important bill to move forward, and I respectfully ask for your aye votes. With me today to testify are Martin Campos, Operations Manager for Trans Family Support Service, and Ebony Harper with the Transgender Advisory Council.
Thank you. You have a total of 5 minutes. You can split it any way you want, 2.5 apiece, or whichever you're more comfortable with.
Speak. Awesome. Thank you, Chair and Committee, for the time. My name is Martin Campos. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm here to testify to the support of Senate Bill 107 on behalf of Trans Family Support Services and the 2,400 trans youth and families that we serve both in-state and across the nation. I'd like to start by acknowledging that social acceptance and affirming support for trans youth is the key to overall success within their mental health. We currently are working with families in states where we have seen anti-trans legislation preventing medical treatment that is forcing families to make the hard decision to have to uproot their family and livelihood to seek out refuge in an affirming state such as California. We are fortunate to have many healthcare professionals and nationally recognized experts in the field across our state. Parents should not be concerned about facing legal ramifications while seeking medically necessary gender-affirming services for their youth, nor should a youth have to endure the trauma that is created by having their parents face those ramifications. A colleague reminded me recently that for trans youth, it's not always about being viewed as trans, but being viewed and affirmed as who they are, and so they can thrive. And all this bill is seeking to do is allow transgender youth to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, committee, and it's an honor to speak in front of you. My name is Ebony Harper. I identify as a Black trans woman. I'm going to tell you a little bit of my personal story. I was a trans youth at 13. I grew up in South Central California, and at 13, I was kicked out of my house, which was the story for most transgender people from my era, if you were between the particular intersections of being Black and transgender. And I spent many years on the streets, in jails, institutions, because it was the dark ages. Trans folks were considered mentally confused, people that could not participate in society. And some of you remember those days. And thanks to the California legislature and the support of the California legislature to the trans community, we are thriving, we are prospering. A lot of trans folks from my era, which I came out in the early 90s, a lot of them died because they didn't get health care. And you're seeing people of my age group going back to school now that we have protections. And my good friend just got her PhD, and she has the same story that I have. I am co-chair of the California Transgender Advisory Council. I am executive director and founder.
AT&T operator, we're not ready yet. Go ahead. Sorry.
I am executive director and founder of California Transcends. We do policy work and we do advocacy work. And right now we're doing work in Placer County, which is, red county, but I think trans transcends politics. There are trans Republicans. And so my job is to support you, whatever party you are. And you're trans, so you need the same access to care as I need. And so you have seen that our community recently has been politicized, which is causing a lot of trauma and pain in our community. And California has always led the way as far as supporting LGBT rights, and other states end up following suit and supporting rights. And so my story is one of the legislature putting in bills that supported our community, and me being able to thrive and prosper because of your decisions. And so, and also I hosted a California tree lighting with the governor. And, you know, I'm on the board of the Trans Law Center as well. And, you know, the 13-year-old me thought I was going to end up, you know, dead before I hit 21. And here I am, advocating in my 40s and still going strong and having the fortitude of support with senators like Scott Wiener and others, and the lieutenant governor and other folks in government. And so I ask you to please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to the hearing room. Anyone, name and organization that are in favor of Wiener SB 107.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Jonathan Clay here on behalf of the City of Encinitas in support.
Thank you.
Tommy Martin on behalf of Equality California, proud co-sponsor of the bill and strong support. And I've also been asked to register support on behalf of the National Center for Lesbian Rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Mark O. George on behalf of the California Public Defenders Association and strong support.
Thank you.
Good morning. Kelby Lind with Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California, a proud co-sponsor in strong support.
Thank you.
Good morning. Isabella Argueta on behalf of the California Nurse Midwives Association and NARAL Pro-Choice California in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Becca Tran on behalf of the Lieutenant Governor's Office in strong support as a co-sponsor.
Emily Harris with the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights in strong support.
Thank you. Well, and now AT&T operator will now go to the phone lines for support of SB 107 Wiener.
Thank you. If you wish to speak in support of SB 107, please press 1 then 0 on your phone. And we will start with line 54. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Kim Lewis, representing the California Coalition for Youth in support.
Thank you. Next, we have line 34. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Sally Ching on behalf of ACLU California Action in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have line 68. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and members. Madeline Cooper with Nielsen Merksmer on behalf of the counties of Contra Costa and Marin in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have line 75. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Rebecca Gonzalez with the National Association of Social Workers California Chapter in support.
Thank you. Next, we have line 61. Please go ahead. Line 61, your line is open. All right, next we have line 60. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair and members. Max Perry on behalf of the City of Long Beach, also in support.
Thank you. Next we have line 6. Please go ahead.
Good morning. This is Marissa McGinnis on behalf of the #MeToo Family Court Movement in support.
Thank you. Next we have line 81. Please go ahead.
Is this me?
Yes.
My name is Cassidy Wells. I'm a lifelong resident of California, and I'm urging you to vote yes on SB 107. Gender-affirming care saved my life, and it has done the same for countless others, contrary to what you might hear today.
Thank you.
Gender-affirming care.
Thank you. Next, we have line 82. Please go ahead.
Hello, Naima Ford on behalf of CBHDA in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Line 61 did not get a chance. If you wish to press 1 then 0 again. Perhaps not. That is all I have in queue.
Thank you. We'll now go to witnesses in opposition to SB 107. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you. You both have a total of 5 minutes. You can split it up any way you want. It's to your discretion.
Thank you. I'm Erin Friday. I'm an attorney and one of the leads of Our Duty. There are tens of thousands of other parents behind us. This is not a partisan issue. Parents are voting with the party that protects children from transgender medicine. We oppose SB 107. It is unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment and Article 4. This law will not just provide sanctuary for families who live in states with bans. It makes California the refuge for all children who want to get access to any type of gender interventions. No questions asked, no real mental health assessment, no minimal diagnosis, and no parental consent. So long as the minor child can get to California, she can order up any type of irreversible treatment. Suppose divorced mom and dad live in a state that permits gender interventions on minors with proper parental consent. Per the custody agreement, dad has no say in son's medical decisions. Regardless, he is able to place his son on puberty blockers and estrogen on a trip to California. If he stays here, dad and son will be the lowest priority for the police. The police will ignore extradition requests. Any subpoena served on dad can be ignored, and California courts must take jurisdiction over the custody of the child, despite the fact that dad and son have no past ties to the state of California. Imagine mom and dad live in a state that bans gender interventions. They have a son who is displaying really feminine attributes. He likes pink dolls and is attracted to boys. Dad doesn't want to have a gay kid, so he brings him to California to trans the gay away, the ultimate conversion therapy. Courts in California must take jurisdiction over any child who makes her way to California, regardless if the parents are here, according to this bill. Courts can roll that child into California's foster care so that she can control her own gender interventions. The number of homeless kids, Senator Wiener, will continue to balloon. Think of the anguish of those parents who have to then come to California to fight for the custody of their children here in the state of California, as California takes custody and jurisdiction over those children. Vote no on SB 107.
Thank you.
My name is Chloe Cole, and I am a 17-year-old detransitioner from the Central Valley. I was medically transitioned from ages 13 to 16. My parents took me to a therapist who affirmed my male identity, and the therapist did not care about causality or encourage me to learn to be comfortable in my body. He brushed off my parents' concerns about the efficacy of hormones, puberty blockers, and surgeries. My parents were given the threat of suicide as a reason to move me forward in my transition. My endocrinologist, after 2 to 3 appointments, put me on puberty blockers and injectable testosterone. At age 15, I asked to remove my breasts. My therapist continued to affirm my transition. I attended a top surgery class that was filled with around 12 girls that thought they were men. Most were my age or younger. None of us were going to be men. We were fleeing from the uncomfortable feeling of becoming women. I was unknowingly physically cutting off my true self from my body, irreversibly and painfully. Our trans identities were not questioned. I went through with surgery. Despite having therapists and attending the top surgery class, I really didn't understand all of the ramifications of any of the medical decisions I was making. I wasn't capable of understanding, and it was downplayed consistently. My parents, on the other hand, were pressured to continue my so-called gender journey with a suicide threat. I will never be able to breastfeed a child. I have blood clots in my urine. I am unable to fully empty my bladder. I do not yet know if I am capable of carrying a child to full term. In fact, even the doctors who put me on puberty blockers and testosterone do not know. SB 107 is circumventing states' laws that have needed safeguards in place so my story is not repeated. Children cannot consent. Vote no on SB 107.
Thank you. We'll now go to the hearing room for witnesses in opposition to SB 107. Could you go to the microphone, name and organization.
I'm Ted Hudako from Contra Costa County. Oppose
SB 107. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I am Oksana Komanescu. I am a parent of deceased child, and I oppose this bill.
Thank you.
My name is Levon Urbano, Placer County. I'm a parent of a recently decided kid who's transgender at 16. Please oppose this bill.
Thank you.
I'm Mitchell Cole from the Central Valley, opposed to SB 107.
Thank you.
My name is Joey Bright. I'm a lifelong Democrat and a lesbian, and I oppose SB 107 vehemently.
Thank you.
I'm Stan Helton from Contra Costa County. I'm a Democrat and a parent, and I'm opposed to SB 107.
Thank you.
My name is Cecilia Sequeira. I'm an independent. I have voted Democrat for the last 10 years, and for the safety of the children, I am opposing SB 107.
Thank you.
Greg Burt from the California Family Council in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. AT&T operator will now open up the phone lines for opposition to SB 107. Weiner.
Thank you. If you wish to speak in opposition of SB 107, please press 1 and 0 on your phone. We will start with line 55. Please go ahead.
My name is Catherine McBride from Placer County, and I strongly oppose Weiner's SB 107. It's dangerous, disgusting, and despicable.
Thank you. Next, we have line 74. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm Nicole Young from Placer County. I am the chapter chair of Placer County Moms for Liberty. We vehemently oppose this bill. I represent over 2,000 families and concerned citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have line 31. Please go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Kasia Williams. I am a member of Moms for Liberty, Placer County, and I'm also asking for a no vote on SB 107. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have line 37. Please go ahead.
My name is Kelly. I represent thousands of Californians with Alliance to Protect Children. I'm from Monterey County, and I strongly urge a no vote on this horrendous bill.
Thank you. Next, we have line 77. Please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Emily Viola, and I have a trans child who is also autistic and very vulnerable to predatory medicine, and this would stop us as parents in New York to be able to be engaged in our child's health care and to find out information about what kinds of harmful treatments have been conducted on her body.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have line 20. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Carol. I'm with the Feminists in Struggle, and we strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have line 22. Please go ahead.
Gigi LaRue, and I represent Our Duty, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you. Next, we have line 15. Please go ahead.
This is Erica Hathaway from the California Assembly, and we strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you. Next, we have line 73. Please go ahead.
Rena Davis, lifelong Democrat and social worker, strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you. Next is line 71. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dalila Epperson, ACT Monterey grassroots leader and congressional candidate of Monterey. We strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you. Next is line 66. Please go ahead.
Hello, thank you for hearing me. My name is Lindley Hogan of Santa Clara County, and I am the mother of a identical twin daughter. And she has been thinking she's a boy for the last 4 years and now has decided she is not, and I oppose this bill vehemently.
Thank you. Next, we have line 59. Please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Vicky Abrahamson, and I strongly oppose SB 107. The other side
Thank you.
says how can.
Thank you. Next, we have line 56. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Renee Tanaka Yasamura. I am a former Democrat with a teenage daughter who has detransitioned, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you. Next, we have line 83. Please go ahead.
Yes, James Randlett, Placer County registered Democrat, parent of a minor autistic child currently being seduced by this craze. strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you. Next, we have line 88. Please go ahead.
Is that me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I was a former Democrat. I strongly opposed the SB 107.
Thank you. Next, we have line 50. Please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Jeffrey Morgan. I am representing Dad Talk Today with almost 500,000 followers. We strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is line 49. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. On behalf of Rock Harbor Church, Bakersfield, Calvary Chapel, Visalia, Exeter, Porterville, Tulare, Coalitions for Freedom and Constitutional Rights for Parents and Parents Against Child Abuse from the Government, we respectfully and strongly oppose SB 107. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have line 61. Please go ahead.
I'm hoping I can talk.
Yes.
Hello, Governor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi. My name is Sharina Latch, mother of three, with parents against the parents that stand against unconstitutional laws against children. We are asking for abstain or no vote. It's on SB 107, exclusion, not inclusion bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have line 12. Please go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. My name is Marlo Isaac, a grandmother of 4, and I oppose this bill.
Thank you. And that is everyone I have in queue.
Thank you. We'll now bring it back to committee members for questions. Mr. Quirk?
Yes, I apologize for being late, Senator. Had to present a bill. We're all doing that these days. So this bill predominantly is about legal protection for people who are here. It also discusses having a child's, at least one of the child's parents. Could you get into that in some detail?
I'm sorry, what in particular?
It says the child and the child's parents or the child, at least one parent or a person acting as a parent, have a significant connection with this state other than mere physical presence. So could you explain then, what they're basically saying is you can have a 6-year-old come here and their parents have nothing to say about it. And that's not the way I read the bill.
So there's been a lot of talk today about parental rights and age of consent and so on and so forth. This bill doesn't change anything about the standards of medical care or the process when a child receives health care. And frankly, a lot of this bill is not about health care even being performed here. It's about parents leaving another state or families leaving another state because they don't feel safe there because the state, whether it's Texas or Alabama or otherwise, is saying because of what happened here in Texas or Alabama, you're a felon. And so parents, if a family feels unsafe, they can come here and we will do what we can to provide a refuge for them. So there was a lot of hyperbole that we heard in the testimony today, and that's just not what the bill does.
Okay. And for someone under 18, what does gender-affirming care mean?
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not a physician. I don't want to put myself off as a physician, and there are many medical providers who could answer that question in a lot of detail. What I have heard from medical providers who provide or are very knowledgeable about gender-affirming care is it for youth it can involve puberty delayers. It can involve hormones. It is not common for surgery to happen to minors. I'm not saying it never happens, but it is not common. And I think the hormones and puberty delayers are probably the most common form. There's also therapy that people receive where there's no physical intervention, but they're receiving therapy relating to, which is also a form of gender-affirming care. And it's all...
That's my understanding as well. Yeah. So thank you for being clear on what your bill does.
Thank you.
I don't get to comment?
No. Yes.
Okay, sorry for my lateness in coming in. I don't know whether this got covered or not, but currently the California law follows the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Enforcement Act, which is also followed by every state and most territories in this country. And what do you expect the consequences of California leaving that agreement per this bill, and have you reviewed all of the protections and agreements in that act?
It doesn't leave that agreement, and the bill does not involve rejecting judgments or child custody judgments. It's not what the bill does, and it doesn't leave that agreement.
But it seems to kind of allow parents that are kidnapped. I mean, a lot of times you have the notifications across the billboards that a child has been kidnapped. Many times those are from one of the parents or the other, and it kind of allows them to go to another state. And the way I read their bill, it kind of gives them cover. And so that's my concern, one of my concerns about this. The other one is that I believe that when a child is under 18, they are, the parents are the person that is supposed to be in care of that child and informed about every aspect of what's going through with that child so that they can be supportive parents.
Well, let's talk about, I'd like to address that second part first, if I may. Because again, this is despite some of the statements which you may not have heard, but
I have heard them in the past.
This is somehow.
Go ahead.
This is not an age of consent bill. That's not what this bill is. And in fact, what this bill is about is situations where parents are supporting their children and providing them with access to health care, and the parents are being threatened with criminalization. If we look at what's happening in, say, Texas, Alabama, there's a series of states now where they are saying, parents, you don't get to make that decision, and you are a criminal if you make that decision, and we're going to overrule you and say that that is a crime and take your kids away from you and criminally prosecute you. That's what these laws do. So if someone is arguing in favor of parental decision-making, parental consent, those laws are the exact opposite, because those undermine parents who are trying to support their kids. And this bill does not change that. So I just wanted to comment on that. And in terms of the other, this is simply allowing families, if they feel that they are not safe in their state because of these laws and what those are trying to inflict on families in these states, that they can come here, and we're going to do what we can, and it's never airtight because the U.S. Constitution has certain baseline requirements, and we're very mindful of that, that we are not going to enforce those laws here in California. That's what this is about. We're not going to enforce those laws criminalizing these parents in California.
Okay, thank you for your explanation.
Thank you. Any other comments? You may close, Mr. Weiner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think responding to those questions, I closed, and so I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Yes, unfortunately, we don't have a quorum yet, but as soon as we do, we'll bring up the matter, and I can let you know that chair's going to recommend an aye vote. Thank you, and thank you for the witnesses for being. I know it's.
She's 17.
We will tell you it's not easy to come and speak. So I commend you for being here today. That's a very brave thing to do. So thank you. We're now going to your next bill. SB, item number 2, SB 834.